Olá, esse é o STJ Entrevista, um programa do Superior Tribunal de Justiça para debater com especialistas temas relevantes, tanto nas discussões jurídicas e acadêmicas, quanto no dia a dia da população. E no programa de hoje, vamos falar sobre a busca por equidade racial em meio aos desafios para a superação do racismo no mundo. Também vamos abordar o conceito de ecologia integral, defendido pelo Papa Francisco, e como o racismo se manifesta na crise ambiental que estamos vivendo. Para explorar esse tema, convidamos o Cardeal Peter Turkson, Arcebispo emérito de Cape Coast, em Gana. Foi elevado a Cardeal pelo Papa João Paulo II em 2003. O Cardeal Turkson é atualmente chanceler da Pontifícia Academia das Ciências e da Pontifícia Academia das Ciências Sociais no Vaticano. Vamos conferir então como foi essa conversa. Your Eminence, it is a great honor to have you here on our program, STJ Entrevista.
Thank you.
So to begin with, Your Eminence helped Pope Francis draft the encyclical Laudato Si, which highlights the connection between ecology, social justice, and spirituality, calling everyone to care for creation. How is it prepared? How long does it take? And what factors are considered during it?
Well, so thank you for having me on your program and for the occasion to share this treasure of Pope Francis to the world. In fact, since its production in May 2015, I've had a chance to go talk about it all over United Nations and all of that. See, Pope Francis was elected in 2013, shortly before a feast in the church, a feast of St. Joseph, as the caretaker of the Holy Family, Mary and Jesus, right? Yeah. So at that celebration, Pope Francis, reflecting on the role of Joseph as a caretaker, then invited everybody to also be a caretaker, not of Mary and Joseph, but of the world and of the poor. So that's where the encyclical was born, to follow St. Joseph to be a caretaker. So then later on, he invited our office to work on the draft of this encyclical. But the main point was made: how can humanity be a caretaker of two things, the earth and humanity, the poor ones among us? So that's what we set out to do. And so ours was just a draft, okay? We put together somebody from the United States, somebody from Italy, somebody from Ireland, somebody from Germany. And so we created a small grassroots group of about 7 people that worked on the first draft, okay? And that we sent to the Pope. We finished the draft in record time. We thought that he was going to come out with an encyclical in the summer of 2014, but we got it wrong. Okay, it took the Pope almost a year to come out with that in 2015, probably looking at the date of the COP 21. He wanted the encyclical to come to inspire COP 21, which was taking place in Paris. So for the first time then, as you rightly said at the beginning, the Pope just invites us to, he just doesn't talk religion in that encyclical. He also talks a lot of science, because he consulted scientists about the reality of global warming, the reality of climate change, whether it's just stories people are telling us real, okay? But after presenting all the science that he had, then he goes on to say, but my wish is not simply to present you with scientific data. I want you all to feel what is happening in creation as your own personal suffering. So it's not creation which is suffering, but feel that as your own. And feeling that as your own, be moved to do something to protect and to help the earth. So that was the encyclical.
Terrific. So according to the Laudato Si, Is it possible to reconcile capitalism and financial development with environmental awareness?
It is.
Yeah.
It is possible. It is possible. I mean, so in this case was Laudato Si, a social encyclical. It's about ecology and the poor, but it's essentially a social encyclical. Its highlight is about the relationship between creation and human life. Okay, the interconnectedness of that. Now you talk about business. We in Laudato Si and after Laudato Si, we engage a lot with business people and business sectors because we think that as part, the church does not simply always point finger at business, accusing them. We like to engage business people in conversation, okay, because they're very important.
Yeah.
And if I may illustrate that to you, so you have a nice tripod there with your water. It's made of wood, okay? Yeah. Wood is from the tree. God planted the tree, or God created the tree. It's not the business people. But business people turn the tree into, something concrete, a table, a chair, or whatever. Yeah. So business people should know that they work closely together with God. Yeah. God created everything, and they, with their expertise and whatever, turn it into something. God created the sand on the beach. Business people create glass and crystal for us to use for wine and whatever. So the two, therefore, business and faith or whatever cannot be opposed. Okay, it's only an invitation to do one thing. We said, fine, since you use things that somebody else created, try to imitate the love of the person who created these things. So business cannot be only for profit and gain. Business should also try to imitate the love of God towards the poor and towards the needy ones. So the Pope calls business a noble vocation, something very important and very noble, that then challenges the noble vocation to be open, to have their eyes open to the very needy ones and make business not only look for profit and gain, but also be aware, imitate the love of God for all of us by also showing that affection and love for the needy ones in our midst. Yeah. So we don't have problem with business. We engage with them all the time. In fact, we tell them to do 3 things. Yeah. We tell business people, look, in the light of everything I've said, therefore, you should produce good goods, okay? The goods you produce must be truly good. It must not be something which is half-half in quality, okay? And then use good work to produce the goods. Because business factories and all, you use work, labor. So let the labor or the workforce also be good. Okay, and then when you use labor to do work, you produce wealth. You produce, money, wealth, whatever, and let the wealth also be good. It means you produce wealth, share the wealth equitably between your workers, whatever type of thing. So we tell business people to do these 3 things: good goods, good work, and good wealth. If business does these 3 things, we're okay.
Yeah, really. We'll be okay.
We'll be okay with them.
So we can say that in this global environmental crisis, are some social groups more affected than others? Is the Black population one of these groups? We can say that.
Yes. So if yesterday I was talking in Rio de Janeiro at the Pontifical University there, right? Yeah. There I could show slides, okay, show them whatever. If I was showing a slide in response to your question, I would have shown you a slide which Desmond Tutu called climate apartheid, okay? That slide shows that the picture of the world, okay, in which the northern part use more energy and produce more global warming gas than the south. So if you look at that map, in terms of energy use, energy production, and therefore the production of green gas, a lot of the North is very big, and the South is very tiny. But in terms of suffering, the consequence of this, the North is so small, and the South is very big. So the North produce a lot of the problems we're talking about, but those who suffer are mostly in the South. So that's the question you're asking. And the other thing, therefore, that whether it's the black people, blacks who suffer most and all of that, you have blacks living in the North and blacks living in the South. Yeah. Although most of them are probably, if you take Africa, Southeast Asia, and all of that, you still have a lot of them there. So in that sense, you can probably say the southern part of the globe is the part that suffers most, with all the islands in the Pacific and all of that. They suffer most because if as a result of the green gas, we have flooding and extreme temperatures, they cause sea rise, floods, and all of that. And, these communities are the least prepared to deal with those crises. So in that sense, they suffer most. But it is true, in terms of when the Industrial Revolution began, in the 18th century, this is what happened. The Industrial Revolution started with the locomotive and engine, was a lot of carbon. Yeah. All the trains in those days were using carbon, green gas, producing carbon into the atmosphere. And everybody wanted to use a machine. And the source of energy for machines was just carbon. So in those days, a lot of carbon dioxide was produced. In the southern part of the world, they were burning, charcoal, or they were burning firewood to cook or whatever. Yeah. Small quantity of carbon compared with what was happening out there. And so, over history with the Industrial Revolution and everything, a lot of carbon dioxide is being thrown into the atmosphere. And it's created this, it affected the jet stream. It's created all of this climate change, which we suffer from. But in terms of suffering, those who are least prepared to deal with the consequences are those in the South. And so what we are working on now from the Vatican, from our office, Academy of Science and whatever, is to prepare the population in the South, to be able to deal better with the challenges of all of this, industrial revolution and changes and everything. The challenge at the beginning was that people tended to be very legal, and here we're legal environment, and they said, you produce more, you pay more, And with that thing about you produce more, you pay more, if you are waiting for the people, for the North to pay more for the damage they've done, you never do anything. So we say now, in the meantime, you can ask those who polluted most to pray for the damage they've done. But in the meantime, also let us fashion ways of dealing with the situation, and let us not wait completely for the damage to be settled. Because by the time there will probably be nobody living. So let's also do something now. And so we introduce mitigation, adaptation, and resilience structures, which we're helping the local populations to use.
Yeah, sure. So continuing talking about racial subjects, can I say that? As a scholar and a man of faith, how do you see the persistence of racism in the 21st century?
Tough question.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
No, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it's something. For example, if I had not traveled out of Ghana, and if I had lived only in Ghana, I would have no sense of racial challenges or anything like that. Yeah. So one begins to have an experience of this when one moves out of, and for the same reason, somebody living in Iceland or Greenland who has never also left the place and has never met also someone, that's also not understand, the challenge of this. So this type of feeling comes when the two groups come together. Yeah. When the different groups come together, whether it is African origin people or indigenous population from Taiwan, from Australia, from whatever type of thing comes together. That's when the difference comes up. And so racism is a way of dealing with difference. okay, and how one deals with the difference. One can deal with the difference positively, recognizing the value and the contribution that something that is different can make to me. Yeah. One can also deal with difference by simply, pushing it out, not recognizing it, and rather considering that to be a threat. Racism is when difference is seen as a threat, is seen as a disadvantage, and is seen as something that pulls somebody back. But it doesn't have to be that. The difference, how we deal with and manage difference and diversity is the biggest challenge that we have. Diversity should not always come with exclusion and whatever, because diversity is part of human nature. Even an individual, like me, I take myself, every element in my body is not the same. There is diversity within my body. Yeah. And so there is diversity also in creation and in nation. So it's good to help people, help people deal with diversity and not consider that a threat. Unfortunately, the issue of threat comes in when people look at the source of diversity as a challenge to their aspiration to what they are. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, or something that they want to benefit from. This, unfortunately, is also the thing in a human person, to always benefit from a situation. And you try to exploit any situation that you can benefit from. So the history of all of this difference goes way back. I don't know, if your interview has time to go into all of those, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it goes way back. I mean, different populations were brought together in the course of history, when it became possible to travel. Yeah. With the traveling, people left and went to other areas and met other people. Mm-hmm. And when they met other people, they needed to do something. They needed to relate to them. Mm-hmm. I come from Ghana. The first time Portuguese arrived in Ghana, in 1482, mm-hmm. They were afraid of the local they didn't know. Mm-hmm. Although they had come with something in their advantage. They had come with gunpowder, gunpowder. So they had the power of the gun. Mm-hmm. The locals did not have the power of the gun. They have their small, weapons, not power of the gun. So, but still, they were afraid, and they still needed water because they were sailing to India and they ran out of water, mm-hmm. so they came to the coast to find fresh water. Mm-hmm. That's how they came first to Ghana, in those days called Gold Coast. And so something happened. The natives, the local Ghanaians, they were afraid of these people. They've never seen any person looking like that before. Mm-hmm. And they were also afraid of the natives. They didn't know what they would do to them. Mm-hmm. So they did something that they call silent trade. So each one tried to make friends. So the Portuguese would come and put some articles on the coast and run back to their ship, mm-hmm. to their boat. Mm-hmm. And then the natives would come and look at whatever they do there, and they liked them, and so they took them, and they also put something back. Mm-hmm. They put gold or some whatever type of, and so that's how the relationship began. Mm-hmm. And so they came close now. Mm-hmm. This is a good beginning. Mm-hmm. Another beginning was on the east coast of Africa, mm-hmm. where the Arabs met the Africans first on the east coast, and then talked about using them for work. That's where slavery began, mm-hmm. in the 14th century. And through them, African population were introduced into Europe and all of that, and they were discovered, but discovered also to be good warriors. Yeah. Ancient Roman Empire used a lot of African soldiers, in battle and whatever, Hannibal, all of those whatever things. So it was a way of dealing with diversity. Some dealt with it positively, some also dealt with it negatively. Okay. Negatively by way of exploiting it from their labor and whatever, and from the labor then came, I want to possess this one. So slavery, buying and all of that as my property to do my work. Mm-hmm. So that's what started, and then the slave trade began, bringing people to this part of the world and United States and all. Mm-hmm. But this is the thing now. So what we're dealing with, which is now called slavery, which is now become inequality and all of those, It's an unfortunate development. Sitting here, being interviewed, but as a priest or as a churchman, I see that thing in two different ways. Okay? As a churchman and whatever, I know that every human being has two things that nobody can take from him or from her. The dignity of every person is something that a government does not give. It's something that we're born with. Governments don't grant dignity to people. Governments recognize the dignity of people and have to promote it. Okay, this is the obligation of living in a society. So dignity is something we're born with. The other thing we're born with is also brotherhood, sisterhood. Okay, this is also something we're born with. And we're born with brotherhood or sisterhood because we come from the same origin. And that is a challenge. How can two people come from the same origin, you know what I'm talking about, come from the same womb of a woman and be different? It's not possible that two people come from the same womb and one has more dignity than the other. That's why it's interesting why the Bible talks about the origin of humanity from a single womb, Adam and Eve. It just makes the point that if we are from the same womb originally, then nobody has more dignity than the other. So this business about some lower and some whatever is something that we, in our selfishness and interest and wanting to exploit and make use of, we have created. It's not part of God's design, if you want. And so it's a topic that we can talk about for a long time.
For a long time, but we don't have this time
basically,
now,
what my thing would be, we need to learn to deal with diversity and see how diversity enriches us instead of diversity become a threat. So diversity is not a threat, it's something that can enrich. And that's the part that I think we can look at by way of dealing with differences that exist in humanity.
Yeah, of course. And what is the importance of the legal system in promoting racial equity or reducing racially motivated crimes? Another important tool, I think, is education, isn't it?
Okay.
Another tough question.
No. I'll try. I said okay because I'm thinking about referring to a concrete situation.
Okay.
I have some friends living in Oakland, California. Okay. Oakland, California used to have a lot of businesses in town, and at a certain point, a lot of them moved out. Okay, so now if you talking about Oakland, California, a lot of people say it's an area of crime. Okay, area of crime and whatever type of thing. So what has happened in this case is that with businesses moving out, there's no source of work, and so there's no source of income, and therefore each one is looking for something to get. Okay, so that's how break in. You park your car, you come, the windows are smashed, whatever is taken, whatever type of thing. Okay, so one would say that, what is the cause of this? Okay, business moving away and no lack of jobs or whatever type of thing, and people needing to live disposes them to crime. Another one would say because there's crime, that's why the business moved away. And another one would say that because the business moved away, crime also grew. So which is the cause of what? In any case, so this is the thing. So, but unfortunately, in different parts of the world, a pattern has developed. A pattern that is developed, and not only in the U.S., Oakland, whatever, it was the same also in South Africa. Okay, and in a very reduced way, it's also present even in some African countries, okay, where different tribes come together. Okay, we talk about what we talk about racial, whatever, also exists in tribal communities. Okay, different tribes also, when they come together, also need to size each other up a little bit. So the thing is this: it's not race that disposes people to crime. It is rather a situation created for people to live in that disposes people to crime. Everybody has to feed, everybody has to eat, everybody has to clothe himself, everybody has whatever type of thing. If with all of this type of thing, and then creating a nation, which means that people are brought to live together and identify themselves as members of a nation, but without the means of satisfying their needs, it's a tough situation to put people in. Okay, so on the one hand, people are now free to go anywhere they want to look for whatever, because they have to be part of this national enclave. But if the national enclave does not take care of all the needs and whatever, it also becomes challenge. So it begins. People need to get skills to be employed. You acquire skills through education. So if education is promoted in one area and not promoted in another area, it means you develop the skills for employment here and you take away the skills for employment here. How can you then talk about, so this is the inequity that begins. So when there's any job to be occupied, somebody here is better prepared than somebody there. So in other words, if in all fairness we're dealing with the situation, then we should stop looking at people in a nation in different terms. I mean, for all of these years, blacks and Chinese and Hispanics, they all lived in the United States. Why is it not enough to call them all Americans? Okay? Why is it still necessary to say white American, black American, Latino American? Why do we still refer to, because they live together as a nation anyway. So why is it not enough to call them by the national designation? So here in Brazil, if here in Brazil you have, the indigenous people and the blacks who were brought in, and then the whites who came later, we all live in Brazil, so we constitute Brazil. And so we are Brazilians. So why is it not enough to refer to everybody as a Brazilian, but must go beyond that to say indigenous Brazilian, black Afro-Brazilian, white Brazilian? So something is not right. Since the different components make up this nation, Brazil is one country. And members, the citizens of Brazil are Brazilians. So let everybody be called Brazilian and not indigenous Brazilian, Afro-Brazilian. Those are the things that emphasize and perpetuate the difference and always reminds people of the difference. Okay, and reminding people of the business truth. So everybody goes, the moment you leave your house, you put on the glasses, which enables you to see people in differences, different forms. But that, according to me, should not count anymore. Why should count? Like if I took the situation to my home country in Ghana, there are different tribes, but we're all Ghanaians. So we don't go around saying this tribe Ghanaian or this tribe. We call ourselves Ghanaians. From wherever we've come from, we now constitute Ghana. And so from wherever we come from, you now constitute Brazil. The differences should not become a point of reference anymore, because the moment it becomes a point of reference, it enables you to do different legislations. If the legislation is one, education must be for everybody, then so it is. It's for everybody. But if you begin to see Brazilians as this and that, then in also working on education, you say, okay, education for this one, education. That brings the disparity, which creates the different, dimensions of education, which, enables one to acquire skills, enables one not to acquire skills, and then the problems begin.
Yeah, exactly. So, Your Eminence, any final thoughts?
I want to. No, I want to. I travel a lot.
Yeah.
Different parts of the world, and the one thing I'm grateful for is that all of these travels enrich me. They make me richer. They make me. They widen my exposure, widen my vision, enable me to see things more than somebody who just lived in Ghana and had not traveled, whatever. So I'm grateful for the exposure and for the way it enriches me and disposes me to be able to deal with different cultures and all of that. And so for that matter, being here in Brasilia, visiting Brazil probably the 4th time, my first sentiment is that of gratitude. Okay, gratitude for the experience the enriching experience that, again, all of this makes me. Don't forget one thing. Ghana is in Africa #2 cocoa producing country. And the legend in Ghana tells us that the cocoa in Ghana was brought from Brazil.
Oh.
Okay, so it means that our biggest cash crop in Ghana came from here. And of course, so Brazil is a home for cocoa traditionally, and from here it came to whatever type of thing. So there is a lot to benefit from when we consider our mutuality instead of emphasis on our differences. And that is the thing that I'm grateful for. And an occasion of this travel just enables me to, deepen my, sense of being enriched by this visit and the different exposures and all. I just visited Ministry of Environment and, enriching experience again. Challenges they face here, we face in Ghana. Okay, tropical forest being cut, they need to replant. Gold being dug, they need to replant. So I think we can benefit more from our mutuality and reciprocity and acting in solidarity than the sense of, the disparate development that we engage in. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was an honor to have Your Eminence here.
Thanks.
Thank you a lot.
Obrigado.
Esse foi o STJ Entrevista. Muito obrigada pela sua companhia e aproveito para te convidar para conhecer o canal do STJ do YouTube, onde você encontra este e muitos outros conteúdos relevantes. Até a próxima. Tchau!